Hello, hello, hello. So for some reason, technically my video wouldn't do the things today. So here you go. Welcome to the Dating Kinky Book Club, episode 4, Your Fantasies. I will have to go back and edit and put in my little awesome video at the beginning to get things started. But here we go. Hi. Hello, hello, hello. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Heather, also known as Nookie or Miss Nookie. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm a hedonistic, dominant, cuckoldress pimptress who is polyamorous and monoromantic. I live a power exchange relationship with my partner of nearly 10 years. It's full of love, sex, passion, adventure, and exploration. And because I believe that everyone deserves the best relationship, kinky or otherwise, that they can have, I also write books, teach workshops, and offer coaching for better love, sex, romance, and kink for people of all genders, relationship statuses, orientations, and more. Hello, Celine. So in kink, we are often looking for the partners whose worldview and fantasies will play well with ours so that we might experience some of those amazing, wonderful, titillating, debauched scenes in our head with someone we love and trust in a safe or at least risk-aware way. But how do we find those people? Well, understanding our fantasies and what we are looking for now can help. In this episode, our 4th episode of the Dating Kinky Book Club, we're going to explore this topic. Who are you? Your fantasies. Ooh. And of course, don't forget to comment or ask your questions in chat. I love engaging and I keep an eye on the scroll at all times. Hello, Sabyasachi. Always a pleasure. I'd like to share a quote to start things off. This is from a book that has really helped to shape how I understand what really gets me going. The Erotic Mind by Jack Morin. He said, Eros is energized by the entire human drama, including the unruly impulses and painful lessons that no one, except those who retreat from life, can possibly avoid. No wonder the erotic mind conjures up images of debauchery as well as delight, because it is connected with all aspects of existence. I define eroticism as the interplay of sexual arousal with the challenges of living and loving. The entire human drama is the key here. All aspects of existence. And that definition, those of you who follow me know how I love words. And to define eroticism as the interplay of sexual arousal with the challenges of living and loving is pure brilliance in my mind. Now, sadly, The Erotic Mind is out of print, but I highly recommend it to any and all interested in understanding their own desires or interested in sharing with partners and understanding your partner's desires. Because you see, for the longest time, I didn't think I really had fantasies. I still don't have much of a fantasy world in my head compared to many others I've met and talked with. But I'm a writer, And I can create hot scenes that turn me and others on. And those are creative fantasies of a sort. I'm a thinker. I'm a daydreamer. And I get impulses, or as I call them, wild hairs, to try things. And sometimes I do try them, sometimes I don't. And I realized that I do have fantasies. The key for me is that they're not fantasies like most people have them. For example, a definition of fantasy is the faculty or activity of imagining things, especially things that are impossible or improbable. None of my fantasies are particularly impossible or improbable, unless you count doing something that I've done before, but this time in like Bangkok, Paris, or Buenos Aires, or maybe all of them in a single year. More seriously, though, I personally focus more on eroticism than fantasy in my personal life. And I enjoy the fantasies that my partners bring to me. And I enjoy helping those fantasies be less impossible or improbable. But why are your fantasies important? Well, as I said in my intro, in kink, we're often looking for the partner or partners whose worldview and fantasies will play well with ours, so that we get a chance to experience some of these things in our head in reality with, someone we love and trust, and in a safe, or at least risk aware, right, way. Because, what is safe, right? How do we define safe? Now, before I continue, I just want to put in a plug. I hope you'll grab a copy of Dating Kinky for yourself and follow along. You can search for it and purchase it on Amazon for Kindle or Audible, narrated by the amazing NJ Cole. You could also get it in PDF, EPUB, or MOBI format free in our membership community just by joining Dating Kinky, right? You can get the audio version as part of a Dating Kinky Plus membership. More on that a little bit later. But I was asking, what is safe? And I mentioned risk aware. Because when it comes to living or acting out our fantasies, risk aware is a big part of what we do when we do kinky things. Risk aware is a term used in RACK, or risk aware consensual kink, RACK. It acknowledges that there are unavoidable risks in some of the things we do as kinksters, many of the things we do as kinksters, right? Rope bondage can damage nerves. One of the reasons that at datingkinky.com/rope, the sample episode there is showing safety and talking about nerves. Needle play can expose us to blood and infections. Breath play can go horribly wrong and reminds us that we choose to accept those risks, risk aware, when we pursue our kink and pleasure, in the same way that we might accept the risk of getting in an accident when we pull our car out of our driveway for our daily commute, right? It's part of what we do, and important to acknowledge and discuss, because of course we want to be safe enough to continue doing those nearly impossible or improbable things that get our juices flowing. Now, this morning I was talking about the idea of I prefer my kink inspired, not enforced. And I was talking about the balance of a disciplinary or punishment-focused dynamic and living a full and varied life in both kink and the vanilla world, right? Because, I'm a dominant and I'm working right now. And my partner is working right now upstairs in his office. He is not, kneeling next to me on the ground, naked or in, some sort of skimpy costume in order to run and fetch me things, right? Fantasy and reality, though, can mix. I have had people, while I'm teaching, kneeling on the ground or laying on the ground with their head on my knee, ready to go fetch me something when we planned that out and the timing was right and it worked well for all of us. And believe me, it's fun, right? When we're kinky dating, when we're looking for partners to do those sorts of things or other more elaborate things, we're looking for people to try our fantasies out with, to try them on for size. And you know what? Most of us, the vast majority of us, want those tryouts to be as safe as possible, which ironically often feels incompatible with the fantasies themselves, which can sometimes include an element of danger or surprise, right? Sabyasachi says the punishment. Yeah, exactly. The punishment that we talked about earlier today. So with a clear idea of what your fantasies are and what you want to experience and feel, even the feeling of danger can be part of a planned and risk-aware scene. But first, you really have to know what your fantasies are and be able to communicate those to the people you meet while dating. Right? So, real quick, please don't forget to like this video and share it wherever you find me. It is a huge help for me to have people recommend me to friends, family, social media, groups, discussions, whatever online. Thank you very much. And I appreciate it when you do that. So what are your fantasies? What are you hoping to do with someone? Spanking? Orgasm control, denial, forced orgasms, choking, multiple partners, rope, suspension maybe, being tied down while people touch you or play with you, being blindfolded while people write on your body and you don't know how many people are around you, being caught and dragged to a car and put into the trunk and driven somewhere and, wild, crazy things done to you, right? Sabyasachi says foot worship, right? Many kinksters already have these ideas pretty well figured out in their minds. Now, if you don't, that's okay too. It is fun to explore when you find somebody that you really connect with, and find fantasies you thought might never be interested in. And there are a few questions that you can ask yourself to prime the fantasy pump, so to speak. Like, what brought you to kink? Was it a book? A scene in a movie? Thoughts and ideas in your head that you've been experiencing for a while? Maybe it's just curiosity that you kept coming back to. Do you have a go-to scenario that plays in your mind when you solo pleasure? What happens in that fantasy? Is it always exactly the same, or do the players and activities shift a bit? How do you feel in that scenario, and how do you want to feel in your fantasies when you think about engaging with other people? Think about a recent book or movie scene that has turned you on. Like, what about that was hot to you? What made you feel out of the ordinary or sexy about it? What feelings were you imagining that you experienced during that scene, right? When you played it out in your head. So Celine says yes, and it's always the same one. So there you go. Now, for me, what's interesting is on the few times that I do solo pleasure, it's usually more like a scratching of an itch, a way to, release tension and get to sleep. And I don't fantasize at all during that time. For me, it is all about the physical sensation, right? So if you don't fantasize when you are solo pleasuring, that is fine as well, right? If you fantasize and it's always the same thing, that's fine. If you fantasize and it's always something different or related to experiences you're having lately or whatever, that's fine as well. Celine says, I've not yet done it with a partner though, and I don't know if I will. And that is also valid. However, I imagine that you could mine that fantasy for the feelings that you want to feel, and you could find ways to explore those feelings in a scene with a partner, right? Doesn't have to necessarily be exactly that thing for you to get value out of it and experience it with some of the people that you're playing with or hoping to play with. Another thing you can do is to think of like 3 to 5 experiences in your personal life that stand out from the others as sexy or hot. Like, how did you feel at those times? What about those experiences made them different from others and imprinted them on your memory or added them to your spank bank, right? And if you're willing to share one or just like a quick note in the chat, please do. If not, I totally understand, because fantasies can be super private, right? For a long time, one of my fantasies was to have 2 men focusing in on pleasuring me. That one is long gone in the sense that not a fantasy anymore. Very much a reality whenever I want it. So, now maybe I can do it in Bangkok, Paris, and Buenos Aires all in the same year, right? While you think about your own and possibly, but not necessarily, share your answers, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our Plus membership. You can find it at getplus, getplus.datingkinky.com. And if you love this content and want more education on love, sex, romance, and of course, kink, there's no better offer than Plus. You see, we give our Plus members an edge in the Dating Kinky app with like a little badge on their profile that shows that you support us and are committed to and are serious about connecting with others. We give you a boost in technology, like with saved searches and notifications when someone new joins who matches your specifications. We have group chats, and soon we'll have required group chats. So if you and your partner are both on Dating Kinky, you can attach your chats together. So if somebody wants to chat with you, they'll be notified that your partner will be added to the group chat as well and be given the opportunity to consent for that. This is great for people who have like an ownership dynamic, right? Or a mentorship or protector dynamic. Plus members get video verification with all users and video and audio chats with other Plus members and higher chat request limits. Join Plus and you'll get access to my books, not just Dating Kinky, which of course, like I've already said, you get that free just joining Dating Kinky. But Understand Me Now, and That's in Order, FLR, Femdom and Women in Charge, It's Not Cheating, The Big Book of Ass, and more. And with over 400 hours of educational webinars, Dating Kinky Plus has you covered on everything you need to know to make the most of your connections, no matter where you make them. So for $9.99 a month, you get access to all of that. And all of that education on power exchange, relationships, communication, rope, navigating the kink scene, mental health in kink, and so much more. And if you're not yet ready to become a Plus member, although really, what are you waiting for as far as investing in your best kinky and personal life ever? Please don't forget to like, love, or subscribe to this channel wherever you're finding me so you don't miss a single live. Sabyasachi says, that's so right, Miss Nookie. Even sometimes I had many fantasies or kinks that I did a different experience when I actually tried it. And that's huge, right? Because a lot of people will have this set idea in their head, and whatever deviates from that is not good. Whereas if you look at what you're trying to experience as far as feelings go, your world can open up. Your fantasy world, your reality world can open up in ways that you might never have imagined. Because it's not always just about the particulars of a scene, right? A rope scene, a spanking scene, a pegging scene, hair pulling, and so on. It's often about how those specific actions in those scenes make you feel. Right? The feelings are often the core drivers for musings, daydreams, reveries, and wild fancies. For example, rope bondage might make you feel helpless and at another's mercy. Spanking might make you feel little again and cared for. Pegging might make you feel overpowered. Having your hair pulled might release that primal animal in you that you usually keep bottled up. Sabyasachi, your foot worship might make you feel like that sense of adoration and belonging in your place. These are things to pay attention to. It's often the feelings we are chasing in our fantasies more than the specific acts. And these feelings can help us choose the kind of people we want to search for to help us explore these fantasies, right? So for example, if you enjoy letting that animal, that roar inside yourself loose, you might want to look for someone who also enjoys a bit of primal play. If you wish to be physically overpowered, then seek out someone who has greater physical prowess than you. If you like the feeling of being in charge, then you might want to look for a submissive to complement your dominant tendencies. Really, it's all about you. And what you find yourself erotically drawn to over and over will tell you a lot about the kinds of people you will find yourself best connecting with in kink, whether for love or for play or both. So, do you have any questions about how understanding your own fantasies can help you connect more effectively in kinky dating? Pop them into the chat if you're with me live, or into the comments if you're watching the replay. As you probably know, fantasies can be deeply personal, intimate. And for some, they can be shameful. Keeping these things in mind and thinking through some of the darker thoughts you've had and probably never told anyone, you'll probably realize why consent is critical when bringing fantasies into the conversation. Even on sites where people gather to talk about exactly these things, it's considerate to establish a connection before just jumping into talking about your fantasies and how someone might help you fulfill them. Because sometimes people act like the kinky equivalent of, we've been trying to reach you concerning your vehicle's extended warranty calls, right? Don't do this. It's intrusive. Even if they talk about it in their profile, unless they specifically say, if you message, please ask me about fill in the blank. It's best to actually introduce yourself with a nice, non-sexual, non-fantasy message first to see if you hit it off. And if so, then your mutual fantasies will likely be more appropriate. And if you're confused about what to send in the first message, I have a video on this channel. If you do a search on my channel for the first message, I have a video not only detailing how a first message should come across, but giving you a template that you can use and customize to fit your personality. And on more vanilla sites, because kinksters meet everywhere, and this is something that I think is important to understand. Like, dating kinky is one option. FetLife is an option. Match.com is an option. OkCupid, Plenty of Fish, Tinder, Bumble, Her, whatever. Those are all options, which is one of the reasons that I do this education. Because no matter where you meet kinky people, making the most of those meetings matters, right? Making the most of your relationships matters. Getting those skills in place. So whether you meet at a kinky swing party or you meet at the library, you still have what you need to connect, right? And on vanilla sites, what you want to do, of course, is make that connection, see if you vibe in other ways, be human together. Then at some point, ask if it would be okay for you to share a fantasy with them. And the most important part, when you ask, take a no. If they don't want to hear it, that's their right. If they're not ready, that's their right. Do not force your fantasies on others. You may decide that they're not a good fit for you because they don't want to talk about it. That's your right. If that's the case, thank them politely for their time and just move on, right? If they agree, then take a single step. Don't just word vomit your entire fantasy in its total and complete glory onto this person. Offer an outline, a thumbnail sketch. that gives an impression, but doesn't necessarily go into every single gory detail. Because consenting to something like that when they have no idea what you might say is a risky proposition, and you don't want to overdo it. Sabyasachi, would it be advisable to go for workshops or dungeons if I want to know or experience, explore kink or fantasy, then learning via partners? Ooh, that's a good question. So I suggest as much as possible doing both, because when you learn with a partner, you're going to learn a single perspective. And for me, I'll tell you this, when new people approach me and want to meet me and want to build a relationship with me, and I find out that they don't have much experience, one of the things that I absolutely require is that they go out and they meet other people and they do things with other people so that they get experience, because I don't want to take on the totality of their kink experience. I want them to be able to, as Skittles say, taste the rainbow, right? I don't want people to choose me as a partner because they think I'm the only option or because I'm the first option that they met and got a chance to do things with. I want to choose them and for them to choose me because we're a good fit. And that means that I want them to have experience. I want them to know not only what their fantasies are, but what they enjoy doing, at least in part. I want them to have started exploring that, right? And then we can get together and also explore together. But I like them to be able to bring ideas to me as well. And that takes some experience outside of me. So to give you an example of somebody who went way overboard with me, is there was this guy, and this was, I don't know, years ago, who sent me a direct message. And in this direct message, he spent probably over 1,000 words detailing clearly his fantasy of me getting in a car accident and being in the hospital and casts and bandages covering literally every part of my body except the parts that, you know, he was interested in, and me being in traction and unable to move while he, I guess he called it pleasuring me, but I called it ew, right? Because apparently I couldn't even speak. That's a little overboard for a first message, right? It's a little overboard for a 10th message. Now, if my partner of 10 years wanted to do something like that with me, explore something like that with me at this point, I mean, hell yeah, I'm in, right? This is something that he wants, and I know him well enough that something like that could absolutely happen. But a stranger? Yeah, mummification to a certain extent. Yeah, more, I think it was like they wanted my eyes. They wanted me to be able to see them. They wanted to be able to touch parts of my body. Yeah, it was too much. It was too much all at once. If they had come to me and said, hey, I have a kink where, you know, people are bound and helpless while I pleasure them, then I'd be like, okay, you know what? Let's explore this. Let's talk about, I mean, maybe I would, depends on if I like them. Probably in the first message, still not a good thing to do, but whatever. Your fantasies, what you're interested in, will help you write your profile to target, as they say in advertising, to reach your target market, right? And that's key. And that is what I've got for you today. So thank you very much for joining me. see. I am looking for that. Of course, if you love this discussion, please share it, like it, recommend it to others you think would enjoy it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you're finding me so you don't miss out on upcoming lives. Speaking of upcoming lives, so tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'll be talking about Lucky in Love, how being a selfish shit brought me more love, passion, and romance than I ever dreamed. At 3 p.m., I'll be going private for my Take No Shit workshop, Opposites Attract, Empaths and Others. Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, Absolutes Are the Worst, Communicating in Relationships. Next Monday, 10 a.m., Lucky in Love, Win or Fail Spectacularly. At noon, we'll be doing a public reprise for Does Your Empathy Trap You? So that's going to be sort of a outline of the Opposites Attract that I did for the Take No Shit workshop. And then on Wednesday at 7 a.m. next week, I Hurt You Because I Love You. And that'll be for our FLR Femdom and Women in Charge series. And then noon next week, same time, same channel as right now. Who Are You? And we're going to be talking about personal kink roles and identifiers, how we identify ourselves in our, dating kinky profile, in our dating kinky searches, and why those different labels and identifications can matter. So thank you very much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. I hope to see you in a live. And if you have the opportunity to join our Plus membership, getplus.datingkinky.com, I would love to see you in our Plus membership community. Thanks so much. Bye, y'all. Have a good